We get it, ScreenRant. You're a Rings of Power shill. You can drop the journalistic integrity facade you're attempting at. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm back with another video, and this goes beyond stupid, even for ScreenRant, in my opinion, because now, the fact that they even dedicated time to writing this piece of shit article discussing whether or not dwarf women should have beards in anything dealing with Lord of the Rings or Middle-earth, it's just beyond me. Beyond me, and the fact that the subheadline is the appearance of female dwarves in the Lord of the Rings is frequently debated, causing Disa from Rings of Power, because yes, ScreenRant is a Rings of Power shill site at this point, to spark controversy. And why does it spark controversy? Because Disa, she's a female dwarf, does not have a beard, even though Tolkien makes it clear, even in the appendix that this article does cite, that dwarven women are so much alike in voice and appearance to their male counterparts. So it stands to reason, if they're so alike in appearance that men cannot tell them apart, female dwarves have beards, facial hair, much like the males. But anyway, let's just dive right into this. The cojones, the audacity, the level of short bus, I'm not going to say the word, but you know what I'm talking about, that Angel Shaw went into with writing this article. So without further ado, here it is. So dwarf women are believed to have beards in the Lord of the Rings. Not believed to, they do have beards. It's stated. It's stated. Not necessarily emphatically or anything like that, but it is clearly stipulated that they do. But whether this is true is still under debate. No, it's not. It's not still under debate. As with many aspects of Tolkien canon, there are varying reports about the appearance of dwarf women. Alright, so cite them. So cite the varying reports amongst Tolkien canon about dwarven women. Cite them, ScreenRant. The author often wrote his written works as if he were an elven historian, and therefore left out anything that wouldn't have been openly known to those people of Middle-earth. I'm not going to go into full detail about how stupid that is and the reason why Tolkien did what he did, because that would be another video for another time, and I most likely will go into that once I start breaking down the shit show that is Season 2 for Rings of Power, but there's a reason why he did that, right? It's nothing against the dwarves or anything like that, but there's a reason why he chose it from that perspective. Since the dwarves of the various mountain settlements of Arda were extremely private, especially regarding their women, it's difficult to pinpoint how they lived their lives, and there's evidence to support both sides of this Lord of the Rings debate. Like I said, show receipts. I want to see this fucking debate. I want to see this debate amongst these fans. Alright? The conversation about dwarf women and their beards has grown since the release of Rings of Power Season 1. It's only grown because people are pointing out how it breaks lore. Where the first female dwarf character was shown on screen. No, she's not the first female dwarf character shown on screen. There were female dwarves in the Hobbit films. Alright, I believe the first Hobbit film, you see female dwarves running away. Alright? Running away. So, when their home is attacked by orcs. Right? And they have facial hair. So she's not the first female dwarf. That's an out-and-out lie. That's an out-and-out lie, or they are so completely fucking ignorant that they don't even do their due diligence, or bother to do their due diligence, in journalism. So hence, drop the facade of journalistic integrity, ScreenRant. Right? For some reason, it was frustrating to see Disa, Princess of Khazad-dûm, without a full beard, since it has been believed that she would canonically be identical in appearance to a male dwarf. Not believed, known. However, the other side of the debate states that Tolkien never explicitly said that female dwarves had facial hair. He never explicitly stated that they were orange in skin tone either. Right? But they cite an appendix that does disprove this. Alright? They're trying to go with the, well, he never specifically described female dwarves, or he never specifically did this, he never specifically did that, which is bullshit in a sense, because I'll show another site, right? Because if they actually did research, they would not have like if they also had journalistic integrity, they would not have bothered writing this piece of shit. Alright? In truth, both sides of this argument could be equally factual, which means Rings of Power went about its dwarf characters in the best way possible, went about it as the lazy way possible, and the fact that the actress playing Disa just did not want facial hair. Because God fucking forbid her fucking face be covered. So what Tolkien says about female dwarves having beards. Alright, since Tolkien's Lord of the Rings didn't have any female dwarf characters, there was no real reason for him to describe any within his actual novels. Yeah, no fucking shit, Sherlock. Alright? If they were in the novels, he would have described them. Alright, but he describes them in the appendix that you so cite, alright, to shill for Rings of Power. The most he ever said about them was in Return of the King's Appendix A, which is here, where he briefly discussed the common belief in Middle-earth that there were no dwarf women and that the men were born from rocks. He explained that this was false and that on the rare occasion that female dwarves were seen outside their homes, they were mistaken for men since they were alike in voice and appearance. Well, here is the actual wording for that. Here's the actual wording for that. Alright? They are in voice and appearance and in garb if they must go on a journey so like to the dwarf men that the eyes and ears of other peoples cannot tell them apart. Alright? So if they are so alike in voice and appearance, and male dwarves, alright, loved, they were all about the beards, alright? Alright? Male dwarves grew long beards, alright? And if they were so alike in appearance that no one could fucking tell them apart, it stands to reason that the female dwarves had beards. Just because the fact that Tolkien didn't specifically say, oh yeah, by the way, it's because they had beards. No, he gave his audience basically the benefit of their intelligence, that they could deduce, based on how he described that they could not be told apart in any way by outsiders. So female dwarves have beards. Like here, in The War of the Jewels, right, which was a book, and I'll show this other link pretty much, alright, all dwarves are described as having beards, including women. Alright? And while he did not discuss female dwarves and the nature of Middle-earth, alright, he did mention that all male dwarves have beards. So if all male dwarves have beards and female dwarves are so alike in voice and appearance, well, guess what stands to reason again? And The War of the Jewels was published in 1994 by Christopher Tolkien, J.R. Tolkien's son, which is part of a 12-volume book series that analyzes, right, the history of Middle-earth, that analyzes Tolkien's unpublished manuscripts. So it analyzes the writings of Tolkien himself. So just because it didn't exactly make it into the final published book doesn't mean, alright, that they had no beards. They're going with the vaguest reasoning possible to defend Rings of Power. Many assume that this means all dwarves, regardless of gender, had beards. That's what it says in voice and appearance. And what does appearance imply? The facial hair, the physical characteristics, and so forth. Since Tolkien has always been clear that male dwarves' beards is extremely sacred. They are all about their beards. It is that important to them. The belief was adapted into Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies, where Gimli told Eowyn that female dwarves existed, but they were often mistaken for men. It's also because female dwarves were so few in number as compared to their male counterparts, because there's only really one female dwarf born for every 3 males. Right? Part of the reason why they didn't travel a lot. Right? They didn't want to risk female dwarves being killed, and thus basically ruining any hope of their lineage surviving. Aragorn jokingly added that the beards were to blame for the confusion. Yes, it was done so jokingly, but it is lore accurate. It is lore accurate because men could not tell them apart. So alike in voice and appearance, and they further down in the article they try to argue that maybe female dwarves could have worn fake beards. Well, if that were the case, then Tolkien would have explicitly stated that. He was that much of a perfectionist. He would have explicitly stated that fact, but he didn't. He didn't. Though this conversation itself wasn't canonical, it reflected what Tolkien stated in Appendix A, so it has become a common belief that Aragorn was correct. He was correct. It's in Appendix A. Guess who wrote that? Still, there are valid and canon reasons to believe otherwise. Oh, do tell, ScreenRant. Why female dwarves may not have beards. So this is basically full-on speculation headcanon moving forward. So you had the shilling, now you have the full-on vague speculation. So Tolkien explained in Lord of the Rings appendices that female dwarves were in short supply in Khazad-dûm, with only one girl born for every 3 boys. This meant that the women were rarely allowed to leave their underground homes, since the death of any one of them would be detrimental to the kingdom's survival. Tolkien also said that in those few instances that a woman would leave Khazad-dûm, she would be dressed as a man, hence not being able to be told apart from their male counterparts. He never went into any detail about this, what this entailed. He doesn't need to, because again, his audience was intelligent enough at the time to deduce and figure out what that meant. Therefore, it's possible that female dwarves wore fake beards outside the mountain, leading to the misconception that they were born that way. Again, full-on fucking speculation. Full-on fucking headcanon speculation, vague as fuck reasoning to shill for Rings of Power. When it came to world building, Tolkien went about his works in a unique way. He was the consummate perfectionist. Like, to the point where his publishers were so annoyed, they were like, give us anything! Because he kept going back and rewriting, go back and rewriting. He was that much of a perfectionist. He was so detail-oriented that he was so detail-oriented that if they wore fake beards, he would have included that. He often pretended that Middle-earth was a real place because he wrote it as a mythology for the UK, for England. So yes, he would pretend it was a real place because he was writing it as a mythology for England. And wrote his various works as if he were an historian living there, because that's how he was. What point are you trying to make here, Angel? For this reason, his history was imperfect, just as real-world history is imperfect. Again, we get it. You're a Rings of Power shill. Stop the facade of any type of journalistic integrity. You have none. You never had any, but now it's blatantly obvious. Since Lord of the Rings and various appendices were written from the point of view of men and elves, many of Khazad-dûm's secrets remained a mystery. Therefore, it would be just like Tolkien to write that female dwarves look exactly like males, even though he knew that this was simply a clever disguise on the part of the mountain-dwelling people. So you're basically trying to pretend to understand what Tolkien was thinking when he was writing this. You have the audacity to speculate what Tolkien was thinking, to say that, oh, it's not beyond the reasonable doubt that he would have been thinking this while writing this. Bullshit. Female dwarves having beards could fit with their creation story. Alright, so I'm not going to go into this. Alright. So I'll be providing a link to the article so you can read about it. Their creation story. Which I can go into at a later date. So how does Rings of Power handle this? Well, they don't give her facial hair. They don't give her a beard. Because, God fucking forbid, they want to be lore accurate, but then again, they don't have the rights to the Second Age or anything, so there was nothing lore accurate about this series to begin with. So the first season of Rings of Power sparked controversy with Princess Disa, because she's a non-canonical character, since she clearly didn't have a full beard. When looking closely, it's evident that a few patches of dark hair were added to actor Sophia Numvet's face. Okay, if you look really fucking close, you can see a 5 o'clock shadow. Let me get my magnifying glass there, Angel, you fucking asshole. However, since she was distinguishable from the male dwarfs, some regarded this as an unforgivable breach of canon. It was. Still, the design choice might have been the best possible for Rings of Power. Oh, do tell. If the Prime Video series were to take Tolkien at his word and make its female dwarves indistinguishable from the males, then it would have needed to cast a man as Disa. No, they wouldn't have had. No, they wouldn't have had. No, you ever heard of the bearded lady in Sideshow, pretty much, Angel? Why would they have needed to cast a man as Disa? That is beyond fucking stupid. It is a level of helmet-wearing, short-bus riding stupidity that, like, you have just scraped that barrel, the bottom of that barrel, so much that you are now hitting the ground. Like, the actual dirt beneath the barrel. That's how much that barrel you have fucking scraped. to come up with that asinine take. With such few female parts in Lord of the Rings, this would have been an issue. No, it wouldn't have been. Just cast this fucking actress and give her a beard. No one would have fucking cared. Plus, with the never-ending debate about the status of beards on female dwarves, there would still have been an unhappy community of Tolkien fans. Because, again, they lied about having the rights to the Silmarillion. That's what we were unhappy about initially. They lied to us. And they continue to lie. And then they said, well, what if we connect the dots Tolkien never connected? How do we write the story Tolkien never wrote? Nothing about this series at all Tolkien. That's why we're fucking pissed. That's why we're unhappy. That's why we're continuing to be unhappy. The sparse beard seen on Disa and Rings of Power was a happy compromise. No. How? Fucking Christ almighty. Perhaps if the princess were to leave Khazad-dûm in future seasons, then the writers could have her dress up as a man, beard and all, and lay the Lord of the Rings debate to rest once and for all. No, there has been no debate at all, as I shown in the book, as well as the sites. There is no debate. In the histories of Middle-earth and this book, it is clearly stipulated that they have beards. They are so alike to the males, no one outside of the dwarves themselves can tell them apart when they travel. So there it is. That is a level of stupidity that we're now seeing from ScreenRant in Shilling for Rings of Power. It is now in full swing, ladies and gentlemen, with Season 2 on the horizon. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree with this so-called journo's take? Do you disagree with it? Have you watched Season 1? What did you think of it? Are you planning on watching Season 2? Let me know all that stuff down in the comments below. I'll be live later tonight on my Twitch playing some more Armored Core 6. Right, trying to get through this mission as quickly and painlessly and most likely rage-filled as possible. But at any rate, come tune in for that about 7:30 p.m. Eastern. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Share on social media if you will. This is Mara Jade. Catch you on the dark side. And there is no more bottom to that barrel, ScreenRant. You have fucking hit dirt and you're heading to fucking the middle of the earth and to China. Fucking hell.